Hello, everyone. Welcome to Own Your Voice, Disrupt the Inner Critic, Transform Your World podcast. I am your host, Dr. Terrera Loper, and I want to wish you a belated Happy New Year. I'm recording this podcast on January the 12th, so I'm thinking I am still okay to wish us all a Happy New Year. My hope is that you are already showing up with intention in the new year. If you're working on your goals the first time around, that you are engaged. If it is a continuation from last year, that you continue to be motivated by the results that you've already seen. And if this year has begun with you maybe fearful, second guessing yourself, wondering if the dreams that you have, the goals that you want to work towards are too big and you don't think you are capable of achieving those goals or working on that dream, I want to lend my voice and be this spark for you to start 2026 strong. Normally on the podcast, I delve into what it means to own your voice, to disrupt the inner critic, and to transform your world. But today I want to take a different direction and get into what I believe is something percolating in my heart that I want to share with you, with hopes that it's really going to ignite that desire that you have for you to show up differently. There are two things that are bringing me to this conversation. The first is when I reread the quote by the late Dr. Miles Monroe. The essence of his statement was that the richest place on earth are not the mines around the world, are not the oil mines around the world, but the richest place on earth is the cemetery, because in the cemetery, that's where dreams are buried, dreams that were never realized, books that were never written, businesses that were never started, schools that were never built, because that particular person was fearful. They leaned into more failure than they thought they were able to lean into more success. There was more fear than faith to step out. Maybe there was no support from community to help them achieve those dreams. Or maybe the same community was the one that, in a sense, minimized that dream and it forced them not to tap into what their deep passion was and what they believed they were called to do. That was one inkling I had in bringing this to us today. The second really is that we are limited with time. We don't have the next 10, 15, 20 years because the assumption that we think that we can do it next year or the year after, that's a luxury that we cannot afford to embrace. What we have is the present, what we have is now. So for those of you who are in this space, who are maybe fearful on how to activate your dreams, you're fearful on what the world is going to say, let me be your confirmation today to say what you believe is in your heart to do, the gift that God has given you, the talent that God has given you. It is yours for the taking. It is for you to stand up and to execute and do what you need to do. But it always has to start somewhere. So I'm going to use the word START as an acronym to give us just some basic steps to get us to where it is we are envisioning. You need to, number one, see yourself clearly. As we enter 2026, you need to evaluate where you are and be honest with yourself. If your goal is, for example, to start a business, you need to see yourself clearly with where am I financially if I want to start a business? Do I have the skill set to start the business? Where will I need support to ensure that this happens? The lack of us being honest with ourselves, sometimes it's what gets us in trouble. We have to be able to look at everything that can cause us not to show up the way we need to fulfill that goal or that vision that we have. So if you want to spend some time writing down how you're seeing yourself, this is a good place to start. But I don't want you to focus more on things that may impede what it is that you're going to do. But I invite you to also see yourself as a person of value, because there is something that you can offer this world. The world needs your gift. The world needs your voice. The world needs your talent. And if you don't believe that, we won't believe that either. We may see it in you. We may speak to it with the hopes that you can get the confidence you need to then step into that role. But if you don't believe that what you have is valuable, then you won't show up. So this invitation for you in 2026 is to see yourself clearly. As you can see, I wear glasses to read, I wear glasses to drive. And if I don't wear my glasses, especially when I'm driving, many lives are going to be at stake because my vision is not as clear. It's blurry. But when I wear my glasses, man, the whole world is completely different. I don't want you to walk into 2026 without your lenses on. I don't want you to walk into 2026 blurry. Whatever you need to do to get the glasses that you need to see clearly, this is when you start. If it is finding a mentor, if it is writing in your journal some areas where you need to improve, if it is taking that course, whatever it is that you need to do to get you to where you need to get to, please do so. But it starts with you seeing yourself clearly. Number 2, take responsibility. What do I mean by that? Own your shortcomings. Don't blame the world because of where you are. Now, I want you to hear me clearly. There are some things that are definitely out of our control if it comes to the environments that we're in, situations that we're in. I understand. But there are some things that are within your control that you can begin to do. What you don't want to see happen is you keep on blaming everyone. And then in the long run, as you blame everyone, your dream begins to dwindle. It goes on life support, and before you know it, that dream dies. So taking responsibility would look something like this. I'm afraid to start. And the last time I started this, I felt like a failure. Or the last time I started this business, I got more criticism than I did get positive reinforcement. And because of that, I gave up. You're taking responsibility for why it is that you're showing up the way you're showing up. Or maybe you can take responsibility by saying, yes, my attitude stinks in this season. I don't want to show up. Whatever it is that you need to do, take responsibility, because only when you take responsibility for your actions will you see the change that you need to see. If the whole world is burning, if everything else around you is not working, and you are lending your voice to that without taking a beat and say, wait a minute, what's my role in this space? Then it'll be business as usual. We'll be here in 2027, 2028, talking about the same thing. And meanwhile, the assumption is you've got all this time in front of you. Today is the day you have the present. So whatever you need to do, my invitation to you is to take responsibility for your actions. The third thing I'm inviting you to consider is act in faith and not fear. Whatever you are going to feed in this year is what's going to grow. If you feed faith, faith is going to grow. If you feed fear, fear is going to grow. The choice is yours. It goes back to the second step of taking responsibility. How responsible am I going to be to grow my faith in this particular area? And when I mean faith, I'm not talking about faith in terms of religion. I'm talking about faith in terms of your confidence, the clarity that you need in this space, the skill set that you need to get from point A to point B. What is fueling you to continue showing up for your dream, to continue showing up for your goals, for your family, for your relationships, whatever it is that you have decided to work on in 2026? What is feeding that? Is it fear? Is it faith? And then you also need to understand what environments are either building your faith or what environments are building your fear. If all you're listening to is negativity, the dream that you have, the goals that you have, they'll be effective. But if you position yourself in spaces where there is positive reinforcement, there is truth being spoken into your life, letting you know that you have what it takes, then the dynamics change. You begin to silence that inner critic and you begin to believe in the gift that God has given you. I am a strong believer that God did not create you just to waste your life, but God created you because He knows there's something in you that can be used to transform and to change the world around you. There is a gift in you that can unlock someone's destiny. I think of people like Steve Jobs, who, if he let fear speak louder than faith, most of us would not have the iPhones or the iPads that we use or the AirPods that we use. But he chose to believe in this dream that he had of making a world a better place when it came to technology. I can think of Oprah Winfrey. If she chose to believe fear and the environment in which she grew up in, we would not have Oprah Winfrey, we would not have over 500 girls from South Africa getting an education and making their country better. But she chose to believe in the dream that she had. The names can go on. The point being, put yourself in that equation. And if you think of yourself as a world changer, if you think of yourself as a catalyst to bring about transformation, then you allow the faith part of your life to be fed and bigger than the fear part of your life, which is going to allow you to be in a corner and think that you don't belong or you can't lend your voice in this space. Right? So see yourself clearly is number one. Number two, it is taking responsibility for your actions. Number three is acting in faith and not in fear. And then number four, it is releasing the scarcity mindset, releasing this limited thinking and telling yourself the space is already saturated with everyone doing what I'm doing, therefore I cannot do what I need to do. I remember when I went into coaching, I'm a certified coach through ICF, the International Coaching Federation. And I remember when I was going through coaching, the sentiments out there were, well, this field is full of coaches. How are you going to stand apart? And that is a legitimate question to ask. But my counter has always been, I'm yet to see builders stop building homes because other homes are being built. I'm yet to see car manufacturers stop manufacturing cars because cars are being built. I'm yet to see Nike stop producing shoes because there are other shoes being built, right? Everyone has a reason of why they're building what they're building, because they're coming from a place of abundance. The way they think is not like a goldfish in a fish tank. They are thinking the oceans. There's the Indian Ocean, there's the Pacific Ocean, there is the Atlantic Ocean. You can name the oceans. And they're saying, if the Pacific Ocean is not my space, guess what? The Indian Ocean is there. If the Indian Ocean is not there, guess what? The Atlantic Ocean is there. It is the ability for you not to limit yourself like a fish in a fish tank, but to think, wait a minute. There is a certain group of people that are going to gravitate to the gift that I have. You have musicians still popping up, singing new songs. They're not saying because the world is saturated with musicians, I cannot create songs. You don't know what song is going to be out there that is going to make an impact in people's lives. So you cannot afford to disqualify yourself because your thinking is limited. In 2026, the invitation for you is to think in abundance. If this door has closed, what other door is open? Now, don't get me wrong. There'll be frustration because I have seen on LinkedIn people saying, I've been applying for jobs. I think I saw a post where they had already applied for 500 jobs. That is exhausting. That is discouraging. That is a give up worthy cause, because after 500 applications and you're not getting a bite, listen, I'm like, you know what? I'm done. But what's the alternative? Because you don't know, maybe job 501 is the one that was going to give you a chance, right? The fact that they even applied 500 times to me is a sign of resilience. It's a sign of them saying, this world is big. There is someone out there who's going to bet on me, and I will not disqualify myself. I'll keep on putting myself out there. Scary as it might be, frustrating as it might be, discouraging as it might be, I don't have a choice because I am my only option. And if I need to pivot to do something different, then I'm going to do that. Businesses have begun because people were tired of knocking on other doors and those doors being shut. And they did bet on themselves. And you know what they did? They went and did a business. So for you, it can't be everything is so small, everything is so limited. It is, this world is so big. Where is my lane? And how can I fit in that lane to be able to bring the transformation that is needed in spaces that need? That's the mindset that is going to help us show up strong and better in 2026. And then the T is trust the process. Many times we give up right in the middle when the breakthrough was right around the corner. Trusting the process is not easy. But when you trust in the process, you are saying, I may not see the results today, but with the way the world works, something is bound to happen. If I am showing up for myself and make the changes that I need to make. True story. I was in high school and I wasn't too happy with how my stomach was looking. And so I decided one day after leaving class that I was going to go home and do some crunches and some bicycle curls and everything else to get a six pack. How naive can that be? But hey, in that moment, I had faith. And that I was going to go home. I was going to work out. And by morning, I was going to get the results that I needed. Mind you, at that point, I was 16 going 17. And so for the last 16, 17 years, I was living a lifestyle that I was hoping to transform within 24 hours. Okay. And so I did all that workout and I went to bed with hopes again of seeing this miracle in the morning. But at 2 a.m., I had another thing waiting. I woke up with this excruciating pain that I'd never, ever experienced. I couldn't even stand. And I remember crying out to my dad, and my dad was startled to see me in this pain. And I remember going to the hospital, sitting in the car, not being able to find a comfortable position because that's just how much pain I was in. Long story short, I had to get an operation because I'd aggravated something in my body. All because I thought in a space of 24 hours, I was going to get the results that I needed. I wasn't willing to trust the process to say, what's the game plan? What do I need to do to go from point A to point B to give me the proper path to get the results that I need? And many times the frustration comes into play because we're trying to turn things around that have taken years to build, instead of trusting the process to say, this is where I am, taking responsibility. This is where I need to do, acting in faith, not in fear. And these are the steps I need to take to get there. So if it is me being more healthy in 2026, what do I need to do for the next 6 months to get to where I need to be? Do I need to give up on processed foods? Do I need to give up on drinking sodas, whatever it is? And then do I need to begin to work out? And I'm going to trust the process. If I don't get the 6-pack in 2 weeks, I have begun the process to know in the next 6, 7, 8 months, I am going to get the results. It's not instantaneous. It is trusting the process. One of the things I love to do when I'm working with clients who love plants, I always invite them to go buy a plant. I'll say, buy a plant, and we're going to use that plant to help you embrace process. Because if you buy that small shoot, either at Lowe's or Home Depot, the likelihood of that plant growing another 5, 6 feet or 5, 6 inches in a space of 2 days is practically impossible. There is so much that has to go with that. Sometimes you transplant the plant into a bigger pot. There's watering that is required. There is it being in the sun. If it's that type of plant that needs to be in the sun, so you find a space. If it's an indoor plant, a space in your home where there's sun, maybe for at least 6 hours out of the day. There's so many variables that go with making sure that this plant grows the way you want it to grow. And there are times as the plant is growing, it's shedding some leaves, and you have to be okay with making sure that you're having a healthy plant and not focusing on the leaves that are shedding. And sometimes if the plants look sick, you have to figure out what is it that is causing the plant not to be at its vibrant self. All of that is the process for the plant to grow to be where you've envisioned it to be. But many times we don't do that for our lives. We don't realize that maybe we're in this space. So if I'm going to trust the process, how do I transplant myself into a bigger pot? Whatever that pot represents for you. What do I need to do to be in the sun, the perfect sun that is going to provide me the light that I need to grow? Is it the people that I'm connected with? If my soil is dry, where do I need to go to get, my soil nourished to ensure that I'm getting the nutrients that I need to grow? All of that happens for you as well. But it is something that has to happen over time, trusting the process. So for you, you can't afford to give up on yourself in 2026. It has to be the invitation to say, you know what, I am starting and I'm going to trust the process. And on days when I don't feel like showing up for myself, I am going to still show up because this goal that I have, this vision that I have is bigger than me. There are people depending upon me to show up. I need to show up for me to start with, right? But there is a world out there that needs me. What if you are the one with that next breakthrough that the world needs? If it is in medicine, if it is in technology, if it is in project management, if it's in parenting, you don't know if you're not willing to trust the process, but you have to start. So today, what I'm simply trying to encourage you to do in 2026 is not to be the type of person who is going to be part of this rich cemetery because you chose not to show up because of fear or because of culture, but you are choosing instead to start, that you are seeing yourself clearly. You're doing the work to see yourself clearly. You are taking responsibility. You are acting in faith and not fear. You are releasing this limiting mindset, but you're embracing abundance and you are trusting the process. Earlier today, I was watching the Tamron Hall show, and they were highlighting a lady who just turned 28, who was sharing her story. She was a theater major. And at some point, I guess the experts in her program deemed her not worthy to be part of this particular school, and she was kicked out of the program. And she believed it because the experts had told her that she wasn't good enough to be in this program. But there was that passion, that desire for her to still do theater. And so she went on and applied for other jobs, and then the pandemic hit. And then there was this wrestling in her that one day just this idea came up to say, hey, maybe if I did this particular show, if I created something, maybe this might be the game changer. And she did. She was her own producer, her own creator, she was her own writer. She was everything that she had envisioned to be in that theater class. And guess what? Her show, called The Group Chat, is one of the highest rated shows on TikTok. She's got celebrities saying, hey, I'm binging this show because you are so good. And here she was on the Tamron Hall show talking about this particular breakthrough. But remember, the experts told her that she is not theater worthy. And imagine if she had leaned into that statement. For the rest of her life, we would never have seen this part of the creative that she is, where she is now one of the highest rated shows on TikTok. All of this to say, you can call yourself an expert, but that doesn't give you the right to speak into someone else's life and disqualify them because you don't know how God has made them. Someone may have told you you're not a great writer, you're not a great business person, you're not a great doctor, whatever it is that these experts have told you that you are not. May I be the voice to tell you today that if it is a God-given dream and it is in your gut and you just cannot shake it off to bet on yourself like this young lady did, that you are willing to say, I would rather fail trying than give up completely. The last I heard, Martha Stewart began her business when she was 50 years old. KFC began when he was 67. Who are we to tell people that they cannot become what their dreams are that they envision for themselves? If someone has told you that you're not good enough, I am the one coming to you in 2026 to tell you you can start. But you have to see yourself clearly. Whatever fears you have, whatever things have got in the way before, taking responsibility and you saying, hey, I listened to Dr. Tawera today and she told me I have to act in faith, not fear. And yes, I'm going to fail, but failure is part of growth. All these people that we want to see in the world, of all these millionaires or billionaires that we admire, they have failed too. But we don't see the story of their failure. Most times we only see success and we don't think that failure is part of the process, but it is. Embrace that, because when you fail, then you have to reframe and say, what do I need to do differently? What have I learned from my failure for me to be better suited for the next time something comes around? And then you think abundantly because, like I said, this world has got so many oceans and so many rivers. There's a lot to go by. And so you cannot disqualify yourself. And then trust the process. So by the time December 31st, 2026 comes around, you tell yourself, I am glad I started 2026 strong. And my START is just acronym. It's not complicated, but it's the intention for you to show up, for you to trust that the God who created you has something bigger, has something greater for you, that he's not wasting you and your potential, but he's saying, I'm doing my part. What are you going to do? That's the invitation for you in 2026. If this has encouraged you, please share it with somebody, someone who will need to hear this. And maybe 6 months down the road, 1 month down the road, you need to replay this to get reignited. Because sometimes when that self-doubt begins to creep into my heart, I go to podcasts that I am getting strength from my son, like the plant and the sun. I go to spaces that feed my faith. So if this is one of those things that is in your toolkit, please keep it. And on moments when you're feeling discouraged, just hit play. Here I am. I'll be your on-demand coach for moments where you feel like you don't want to show up for yourself. You have to start 2026 strong. Another ask is subscribe to my channel, because you get to hear new episodes when you subscribe. I always talk about growth. I talk about transformation. I talk about how we can be people who bring about change in the world. I talk about owning your voice, your values, being open to learning. You are capable of becoming this person who can change the world and disrupting those self-doubts, those inner critics, because in the end, you transform your world. I choose to focus on what we can do better and how we can serve each other well. But it starts in 2026. So if this has been something that has encouraged you, please share, subscribe, and I hope to see you at the next episode release. From me to you, take care. T20.